So it's officially back to school season, and I know a lot of people are looking for some quick, really easy recipes to get on the table for dinner. And even if your kids are not going back to school this year, or you don't have any kids, I think it's always a good time for a quick, easy recipe. So today I'm going to show you my pork stir fry. This is something I pull out when it's 6 o'clock and I want to get something on the table and don't want to order Postmates, don't want to wait for delivery. This is just as quick. So not necessarily authentic, but delicious and easy. So let's get started. I've got a pound of ground pork. I've got this pan on medium-high heat. I'm just putting some avocado oil in there. You can use whatever oil you like to cook with. Try to avoid that white smoke situation. And we're just gonna throw that in. And we are gonna let that start to cook. I don't put a lot of veggies in this because I don't always have a lot on hand. I think this works really well with just some sliced cabbage. So I've got a quarter of a green cabbage. I'm going to show you really easily here. See this big thick core? We're just going to slice that out and slice the end off. And come in at an angle to get that thick white core out. I'm going to take a little more off that end. Give that a stir. Let's get this nice and brown while you're chopping up your cabbage. Okay. And now that we've taken that core out, I'm just going to come through and very thinly slice the cabbage. The thinner you can go with this, the better. I think you then get that really nice shredded cabbage effect that you get in stir fries. Turn it on its side. This is almost like a chiffonade of cabbage because it's that nice thin cut come through. You see, it's like nice little ribbons of cabbage. We're just going to throw that in on the end. So while this is browning, we are going to add a quarter teaspoon of ground garlic. And you could absolutely, we're going to use ground garlic and ground ginger in this. You could absolutely use fresh if you have it. This is my really easy last minute get it on the table. So I don't even want to take the time to chop up fresh ginger and garlic in this recipe. I think ground works pretty well. So it was a quarter teaspoon of garlic and I'm doing half a teaspoon of ground ginger. Mix that in there. Now this is almost cooked and it's really starting to get nice and brown. So I am going to add in my little stir fry sauce I put together. This is just 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, a tablespoon of rice vinegar, and a tablespoon of ponzu. It's 3 things I always have in my cupboard or in the fridge, and it gives that nice flavor with stuff that you most likely have laying around. So we're gonna let that finish cooking. And while that sauce steams, I'm just gonna throw the cabbage in there and let it wilt while the pork finishes cooking in the sauce. Okay, making a mess here. Now, I like to serve this over rice. So I already have basmati rice. I used a long grain rice, which is more traditional for stir fry. You really can use any rice you have on hand, but long grain is gonna, it's not gonna stick together like an arborio or a sushi rice would. So a little more traditional for stir fry. If you're really running short on time, you can cook rice in an Instant Pot, but this cooked in 15 minutes on the stove. So by the time you get the Instant Pot down, all set up, the rice in there, and you put it in for, I think it's 10 minutes. By the time it comes up to temperature, you know, you could have already had your rice cooked in a pot on the stove. So that was a cup of rice, a cup and a half of water, and a tablespoon of butter. Bring to a boil, simmer for 15 minutes, and you're done. And then this is almost ready. Really want to make sure that pork is fully cooked and that your cabbage is nice and wilted. And I'm just gonna steal a little piece out of here. That's perfect for me. If you wanted to at this point, you could add more soy sauce or a little bit of salt. But my guess is if that's salty enough for me, it's gonna be salty enough for you. Okay, so that is done. Just about, there's one more little piece. This is pork week. Later this week, I'm gonna show you how I make oven baked ribs, which I don't know if you're intimidated by ribs. I used to be. I used to feel like I could never quite get them right on the grill. And then I came up with a way to just bake them in the oven. So we're gonna do a nice dry rub, throw them in the oven, forget about them for 5.5 hours, and then dinner's on the table. So lots of easy pork dishes for you this week. Okay, I think that is finally done. And then I'm just gonna take the whole thing and dump it over our rice. Okay. There we go. Pork stir fry on the table in just a few minutes.